Okay, in theory, things may be slightly better now because at the very least the chat overlay came back and a few things that looked a little strange when OBS booted today look normal again. So maybe that something weird happened when OBS booted today. There may be something that was just like slightly off, even though there shouldn't have been anything off because nothing was touched or changed in any way. Fingers crossed as to whether it's gonna stay that way. I don't think it's gonna stay that way because I just watched it do something weird on my side, and there's the flashing. Yep, it's back already. Interesting. Interesting developments. Yeah. No, it is. It might be a Streamlabs issue. I mean, a Stream Elements issue then. Something relating to Stream Elements might be the problem. Yeah. You're on the same page I am. Let me turn off alerts. Because it might not actually be the game that's flashing. It might actually be the alert window that's flashing. Which would explain why it's over the whole screen. Okay, I've disappeared the alerts for the moment. I'm gonna restart the game again. Which is odd in and of itself, yeah, because nothing was changed with the overlays either, so something in Stream Elements must have broken. Because I didn't have any interaction with it. So I at the very least know I didn't break anything this time. But we're gonna watch this for a little bit and see if it does it again now. It is still flashing. Is it? Because I haven't seen it happen in the preview. For sake of argument, try refreshing for a second. Yeah, it may have still been doing it for a second because the update didn't take on the stream yet. Because there is that little bit of delay after all. Let me know if you see it one more time. You're gonna kind of half-assedly play this handout. There's gonna be an awkward, like, empty section above my head, but at this point I don't really care that much. I could throw something there if I really wanted to, but I'm not that worried about it right now. I am not a fan of the weird slowdown that's happening with the game. Because that shouldn't be happening either. I ran this for days and had none of these issues, and yet as soon as I turn on OBS and point it at it, it gets really mad. Which, you know, it could just be one of those things where it just does not like being streamed, because there are some things that do not like having something like that pointed at it. Yeah, I think we got there with this idea. I think the overlay was the issue. So technically I could go back to Abriss, but at this point, we'll just roll with what we've got. Okay. 8 plus 3, 11. We can definitely kill both here. Just use Vanguard on you. And Hatchet. I could have done a whole thing with momentum and everything to get this pair killed now, but it doesn't matter. We'll go ahead and take Second Wind because Second Wind is good. Now that we're past the point where it doesn't actually give us choices, well, we're still gonna have one more point where there's not choices. There will always be 3 cards in front of you. This counter up here, as it says there, each choice you make reduces the counter of the 3 cards in front of you. Some cards will have multiple points. Most of them are only a 1 point thing, so you end up with just 3 choices, and if you don't take the other 2 choices, they go away. And on some of the combats, there will be a skull, denoting a more dangerous combat than the other choices. As far as I'm aware, they can be more rewarding, but there's not really a guarantee of that. Now, the special racial ability for wolves is that they can use other people's cards, either their talents or their weapons. So I could have him use the round shield if I expended will to do it, but there's no point in doing that since Cosworth has spare stamina to spend to do it himself. Now, you'll notice that there are cards with weapon damage factors. It's very important to make sure to have at least one high damage weapon for these cards, unless you plan on using just static damage cards across the board. I made this mistake earlier on where I ended up with nothing but light weapons, figuring I'll just rush down anything I deal with, and then my weapon damage cards were useless to me. Now, when I first started playing, I did not understand how enemy attack order worked. Note how there's a red line here in front of this front rank. That means this rank's attacking. If there was a second rank of enemies, they would take turns between the 2 ranks as to who's attacking. When there's only one rank at all, they will attack every turn. So things like kick, at face value, seem like they're kinda pointless, because all it does is move them back. But what it does is it'll actually split who's attacking. So for example, I'll push this spearman back. Now he doesn't attack this turn. These 2 will still attack. And he'll attack alone on the next turn. I, for the longest time, was having a devil of a time figuring out how attack timing was working and everything like that. Until I finally realized this stupid slight increase in red around the border here. I was just kind of clicking through, just getting turns over quickly. Didn't really pay much attention. Now, an important factor, in addition to whether they attack or not, is things like bleed and poison and such will also not affect them when they're not attacking that turn, because they don't technically get a turn. And another important thing to note is it does not affect your team. Your team moves based on whoever you choose to activate. As long as they still have the stamina to be activated, they'll still do whatever you want them to do. And if you kill an entire rank, it will still activate that rank as if they were there to have a turn, but nothing will happen. So it gives you a very powerful means of manipulating your opponent's turns. If you move somebody into an empty space and deal with them. And just like most games of this type, there are intents and everything. So you can tell what your opponents are doing. It'll even tell you who they're targeting. So I've had the targeting has been a little weird sometimes. It's not actually been accurate. Still not sure what that weird lag is. Do I even have much in the way of display settings to mess with? I can try turning all this nonsense off, because I don't even know why this game has these options, since they don't really do a whole lot for a setup like this. Why it's 75. Not actually what this displays at. Try that. Yeah, it seems to be moving better again now. I think something was just a little wacky with the display settings, so now it's behaving itself. Today's apparently the day where everything wants to just be just that little bit weird. Now, an interesting thing to note that I did not realize. This intelligence card that pops up, I thought it was experience for... You would end up choosing experience for one character. It's for your whole party. So that's a very good card to touch when you see it. Because now when we do this combat, they both should level. And you want to get as many levels as you can as fast as you can. And as you might expect, to scale your team up. Okay, there's still some lag to the combat, but not as much. I'm gonna have you use precision for now. And it'll be relevant on your next turn. Let's see, they're all attacking for 10 each. 2 out of 3 are going for the bear, so we currently block everything that's coming out. I suppose it's a good thing that this happened on the chill day rather than on a more serious day where I was going to be doing something that took a lot more attention and I might not have noticed the issues. Was when they were being called out immediately. Now, the reason why I took this red powder is because it applies Overwhelm. As you see there, for every stack of Overwhelm, they receive 25% more damage. It's really strong stuff, and it hits the entire rank. So that sets me up to start clearing guys out a lot faster. Dispose of 1 beaver. Now only have a bear and a beaver to worry about. We'll go ahead and use solid footing, which is going to prevent him from using momentum, but the bear can use it still. Charge applies only to the next move somebody makes that does damage. But as you saw there, when you use a discard a card effect, it doesn't care if you don't have any cards left, unlike a lot of these games. You can actually get away with not having a card left, and it'll work fine. On his turn, he'll bleed out, so this fight's over. Make Flurry, because it applies Overwhelm. And now, you see the level up screen. Every level you get to choose to add a point of stamina or will to the character. Every other level, you'll either get a new talent card or a new passive. Level 2, of course, gives you a new talent card. 3 will be a passive, 4 will be talent, etc. on down the line. Now, talents are race-specific cards for the most part. I've seen a couple carryover between races. Or at the very least, some ended up so incredibly similar that I'd say they're basically the same card. In this particular instance, I'll take Roar. Free cards are always nice. And for now, I'll give him another point of stamina because his racial ability is not going to be of any use to us at the moment. You have... I just unlocked Strength of Will from getting levels before. So that one could be interesting. And it would be a lot of charge for the whole team. But we don't have enough card draw to be able to guarantee have extra stuff to work with after using that right now. Baptism of Fire, I picked it up thinking it was going to be really useful, and then I realized not a lot of enemies apply that much bleed. At least not that I don't get rid of immediately. Because I mostly noticed it with some halberdiers later on in the game, which those you want to get rid of immediately because they do some really nasty sweeping attacks anyway. So I think I'll take Bulwark. Especially since Jorgensen's usually going to have a decent amount of weapon damage, so he'll be able to apply an okay amount of block. Since I gave him an extra point of stamina earlier, and he gets one from his light armor, I'm going to give him a point of will so he can actually use his abilities. We don't need to heal right now, and I don't fancy our odds with an elite combat at the moment. So we'll take the Weasel. The Weasel's going to actually give us a chance to transform a card. And I'm going to transform one of the basic strikes this time. Yeah, that works out. Wild Brawl's real good. It takes a point of stamina from everybody and does 6 damage per stamina used. See if I get a new weapon. I'm not the biggest fan of the greatsword generally. 200 florins each. So we're not going to be able to get 2 weapons. We're only going to be able to buy 1. I have also noticed an issue, by the way. Sometimes if you're juggling loot around because you only have 2 spaces in your stash, even if you own the item, if you put it in their grid and take it back, I'm pretty sure it charges you for it as if you bought it. Because I got into a fight for not paying properly because of that one of the times I've been playing this. So you're going to want to watch out for that. I can't guarantee that that's what happened, but that very much looked like what happened. Quarterstaves are interesting because they apply cripple and move people. Cripple deals damage whenever you move something. Great Axe is just straight up good damage, and if it breaks shields, it spreads the damage around. Spears are real good, cheap weapons for 12 damage. The Billhook I've not actually seen. That hadn't shown up yet. That seems to do basically the same thing as the Quarterstaff without applying the cripple. But it's a little more damage straight up. Given the stamina on this team, I think I'm going to take the spear. Move it to my stash to be safe first. Keep doing this wrong. Because these menus are a little weird. There we go. Now he's got the spear in his hands. Because what I've noticed is if you click into a character, it can be a bit funky about clicking back out sometimes. Behaving now, because I'm calling it out, but either way. And the main reason I swapped for that spear is because of the cards we have with weapon damage attached to them. We now have 12 damage on a weapon damage card. We do lose a sweeping attack, which is not great, but I'd rather take a single target out rather than spread damage around and not have it actually kill anything in this game. Because so many things have so much block most of the time that there's going to be usually at least one thing you're not going to be able to just crowbar down in that way. Get rid of Sure Footing. An enhanced rush on him. And then the spear takes him out. Just block. Now, the issue I've run into with larger parties in this game is you end up with a lot of people standing around doing nothing. Because unless you have a lot of card draw, you're going to end up with a lot of people with a lot of stamina and nothing to spend it on because you don't have enough cards. Because you can have up to 6 people in your party. There's also the chance that there's just going to be cards showing up that are only for one person's purpose, really. I'm just going to kick you out of your line so you don't take a turn. You have charge active, so you'll do more damage with Wild Brawl, so we're just going to smash him to hell and kill him. I'm not going to be moving things around that much, so I think I'll take Deep Strike rather than Yellow Powder. So Yellow Powder is just straight 5 damage for 1 to an entire rank. And while you may be thinking, well, why don't you take Natural Selection? Natural Selection is good later on. It's not so good right now when our health pools relative to the enemies are pretty even most of the time. It's also better when you're playing with things like mice and such that spend a lot of time with not much health. I'm going to take Deep Strike, though, for when we start running into archers. Let's just skip this. I don't like either of those choices. We'll take the heavier combat this time, because I want to see if it gives a better reward. But I didn't want to do an elite combat yet. Oh boy, they gave me an ugly fight, though. So we're gonna kick the bear out of line. That's gonna come back to bite me when that line gets its turn. I admit that, but there's only so much I can do in our current situation. Neither of them have no blocks, so Bulwark's useless. I'm gonna have you burn one of your 2 points of will to use Withdraw on yourself. Because I knew they were both going for him. Earn a strike just to finish him off. Just power through one of the archers. I was pretty sure I couldn't math out a way to kill the Enforcer. The unfortunate thing is, since I had to double down with Jorikson, he's not going to get any blocks, so they're about to fuck him up. Because I only drew regular guards, which will not allow you to block for somebody else. But if I didn't kill that archer, it was only going to get worse. And of course, now you draw the round shield. Put that block on him anyway. It's better than nothing. Oh, of note, you'll notice this has a box symbol on it. That's because it's in our stash, but still shows up. I have learned one thing that makes that useful. Specifically, wolves, when they use someone else's wielded cards, can use cards that are in the stash. So, for example, I could have him pull the longsword out of the box and hit something. Which is exactly what we're gonna do, actually. I should have used the red powder first. That was a mistake on my part. So now we're going to correct that mistake by throwing the red powder back there. And then we're going to Wild Brawl. We are letting this guy get an attack off, and it's going to hurt Jorikson a little bit more. But it prevents the issue that was going to happen next turn, where there was going to be both of these about to do terrible things to us. Now we dispose of the bear, and then we clean up from there. Of course we draw a deep strike now. Of course we do. Now the problem with using Sure Footing is you can't play any cards after playing it, as it pacifies the user. It's very strong for saving somebody's life, as long as you use it with the right timing. Toe-to-toe is real good, I'm gonna take that. Ooh. This is actually going to be a better setup than the spear, so we're gonna put the spear in the stash. This is another thing I've noticed. Note how I can't, for some reason, put the spear in the other spot in the stash. Because it's treating it as if it was a pair of hands. Which is really weird. This game's got some odd glitches to it, now and then. Because, you'll note, now that it's not in somebody's hands, it transfers over to the stash just fine. I don't know. I got nothing for you as to why that happens, aside from the theory I put forward there. But now we'll have him use the Falchion in his main hand, which means weapon damage cards will apply based on that, which is only 1 damage less than the spear, but he now also has a card that'll deal direct vitality damage. Anything that says it deals damage to vitality will bypass block, just as bleed will also bypass block. So it'll be a very good card to have when you're fighting things that have asinine amounts of block, which we'll be seeing later. We don't have enough money for that. We'll go ahead and take the free high spirits. And Jorgensen needs health, so we'll take the quick round. I mean, we're going to be doing a combat anyway, no matter how we look at it, so we may as well help the bear. The best part is I can now still use the spear by using the wolf's ability. That lets me clear one guy off the table immediately, still be able to guard and withdraw just fine. This is why I like having a lot of stamina on my characters early on, is because when you've only got 2 people, you end up with a lot of dead cards that way. So if you have a lot of stamina, you don't have any dead cards, really. Unless they're just not applicable. In which case, you probably are doing something really silly with your setup if you have a lot of non-applicable cards. Either that or you're going for a very specific setup that hasn't finished being made yet. It's starting to slow down again. Like, it's actually getting worse steadily, which is strange. I don't know if it's noticeable on the capture or not, but rest assured it's happening. It'll remain playable until it gets crazy slow, and I don't think it'll actually get that slow. We'll have to see. Whenever character ruins a card, spawn a rend in your hand. Which, it's helpful about how it describes everything. For example, ruining a card turns it into a specific type of card. Ruin cards are usually trade-offs. Some of them can be very, very powerful, but they tend to have drawbacks to them. Like, it will be usually something like deal damage but take damage on using it, or deal a bunch of bleed but you can't gain block for a couple turns, things like that. Whenever he kills an enemy, gain a roar. That's pretty good. I do like roar. And roar is free. But since I tend to have Bear's tank up, I'm going to have him gain 5 extra block whenever he gains block. That's another one I hadn't seen come up, and that one's going to be very powerful. We'll go ahead and give you a second hit of Will now. I'm expecting to start seeing heavy armor start spawning soon. And heavy armor is going to be what I want for the bear. Yes, whenever he deals damage, deal bleed. Yes. Yes. That bleed's gonna stack up nastily. And we're gonna raise your stamina because I don't need you having more than 2 will right now. Things like the Brawlers, the Jugglers, and the Lightfoots, by the way, are all opportunities to buy certain types of cards. I tend not to buy any of them because most of the cards that any of these types sell end up not being worth it to me specifically. I'm sure there are people that make great use of them. I don't bother. I'm actually saving up for something we're going to see later on in this area. I have something specific in mind. The game is making me regret not taking the Fundamentalist perk because that would have allowed me to deal double damage with all those strikes we drew. Thing is, it stops being as useful later on. Why I didn't take it. Because you start not using your strikes and blocks because you have a ton of other better cards in your hand at that point. If there was other stuff that worked with it, then it would be a lot better. I have no reason to use Bulwark here, particularly. Actually, no. I may as well use Bulwark to save on Will, so I don't use it on Withdraw. And it still triggers his Impervious, so he gets a pile. Block, Full Guard, and Solid Footing. The pacify won't matter if there's no cards left to play. The amount of stamina you have, we'll go ahead and use toe-to-toe. Since we're using toe-to-toe, we're gonna have him focus on the bear in front of him. Because if he targets the thing in the same space as he is, or at least in the same line, he'll gain 6 block. That's how toe-to-toe works. When I kept having runs where only my tank bear was alive, he would just sit there and brawl with whatever's in front of him with toe-to-toe and just be indestructible, and it was disgustingly good. We're probably going to see an instance of that here today. Use momentum to discard that. Because, see, the funny thing about charge is even something like Wild Brawl will be affected by momentum. So it'll do 15. And now we'll draw the hatchet, but oh no, the bear can't use it. That's fine, the wolf can use it. And that ends the fight. Go ahead and take Pincer, because it grants charge to allies. Jorikson keeps losing health. I'm gonna switch his combat position to have him be behind Cosworth at this point. Since Cosworth's getting durable enough that it should be okay. I'm not gonna risk the elite fight either way, though. That's too much of a gamble for the way this team's working so far. We're instead gonna go to the tavern and hire somebody. What we got? That one's pretty good. Crossbow. See, the thing is, the crossbow's probably pretty good in a team. I've only seen it once or twice, but I refuse it every time because it pacifies the user when they fire it. Because you gotta reload it. I think I'm actually gonna take the hair. I've not actually had a hair on the team yet. does mean we're gonna have to change around our positioning again, though. So the bow doesn't need... Yeah, the bow doesn't actually need to be in the back rank. It actually benefits from being in the front at the start of a fight. Because he'll move to the back rank and deal 3 bleed. So maybe not. Because he's kind of meant to go back and forth. It's a skirmishing weapon. Okay, so yeah, we'll leave that as is then. Where did it spawn him, position-wise? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Jorkson is still protected. Now, I'm thinking this through so much because Spitter is a motherfucker of a fight. And he's not the only first boss you can encounter, but I would say he's the worst one. Because not only do you start with 1 poison just by entering combat with Spitter, which in this game, by the way, instead of taking down, poison takes up. So every turn we're going to be steadily taking more and more damage. You're on a timer the entire fight. With Spitter. These barricades also prevent us dealing damage to the things behind them, and these bruisers are steadily going to get stronger and stronger every turn. You have to damage check through this fight, pretty much, or become so incredibly durable they can't kill you. Those are the only 2 plays you've got. Okay, the hair ability is useless in this fight, as this is full. Well, at least it's useless in the first part of this fight. Start with a wild brawl to get rid of a bunch of health on the barricades. Which I will say, the barricades are not that bad to get rid of. You can clear them pretty quickly. As long as your party does actual damage. I'm gonna discard the precision against my better judgment. I should have used the flail last. But I'm gonna be doing a bunch of misplays today, and we'll just have to get over it. Thankfully, he can cleanse his poison, so it doesn't tick up. Everybody else is gonna have a problem. I'm a bit sad I didn't get any heavy armor before getting here. Because heavy armor would have meant I could have kept the bear alive pretty much without question. I'm gonna have him focus on attacking Spitter by virtue of the fact that he'll be gaining protection. The rest of this hand's actually useless, though. I should have... No, I fucked up. I should have let somebody else use Pincer, and then he could have used his ability to use the longsword. I'm still not used to having that ability. Ends up being the problem. Just get rid of vulnerable? No. And these guys don't move around that much, but I'm going to put a trap here anyway, because sometimes the bruisers will move forward. And I'm going to hope that they decide to do that this time. They didn't immediately do it. The thing is, you need to get rid of those bruisers pretty quick, or they're going to scale up and become horrifying. But the other side of the coin is you need to get rid of Spitter pretty quick, too, because he's going to sit there and keep applying more and more poison. Just being a general pain in the ass. You're okay right now. Who's getting targeted with what? Okay, you're both getting 18. You're more likely to be able to block more of it with this, though, so I'm going to give you the benefit. And we're going to have you use momentum. Hopefully deal more damage next turn. I should have had him lay the other trap down, though. Yeah, because then he was going to move forward into that spot. Yeah. Doing a bad job. Still really off-kilter from all the issues we had initially. thankfully we can just kick him back to the back rank and put a trap there anyway. The other option would have been to put the trap and then kick him into it, which would have worked, but 6 of one, half dozen of the other. He's almost certainly going to move forward again. Though DeGray might be about to die because we didn't draw any blocks. Okay, now we're fine. One moment. You use the spear. And now he'll die to the bleeding he's got. You're up front, so you'll use Vanguard to kill Spitter. Use your round shield to protect yourself. And that'll block all the damage you're taking. Yes. We'll give DeGray a bit of shielding. Orson will use solid footing to protect against the poison. And we should be good. Now we'll use Bloodlust on the barricade to draw cards. That's why I left that 2 health barricade there, by the way. Was preparing for when I drew Bloodlust. There was actually method to that idea. Hatchet to break his block. Get anything to use attacks with those. That. Once I have a larger team, that short bow is going to become a problem to make use of. You are targeting DeGray, so we'll go ahead and use Bulwark for a change. So the kick is useless because kick only knocks people back, it doesn't actually do anything else. There's only one guy left, so I'm not going to worry about keeping one will to use a weapon. That should negate all that damage. He's still going to take poison damage, which is unfortunate. But as long as we come out of this fight alive, that's what really matters in the end right now. And the fight's over. Kimbo's really good, but Challenge is also really nice for these characters that don't generate much block at all. Ah, there we go, some heavy armor. Now, the thing with heavy armor is it generates block every turn, which, thanks to Impervious, he's going to be gaining 10 block instead of 5, if I'm assuming the effects of these correctly. And he gains 1 Winded, which loses him 1 stamina every turn. The thing about bears is their racial ability can remove Winded. So if I know I'm going to need him to have stamina the next turn, I can have him just use that effect and sort it out. Medium armor is good for starting with defense, like the Gray starts with 24 block, for example, right now, and block doesn't go away at the end of a turn. So it's useful to have. I prefer to use either the heavy or the light armor in this game so far, which is a departure for me. I'm usually the medium armor guy because I go for versatility, but medium armor in this game is not really that good. At least not for my taste. I think I'm going to ditch that short bow in favor of a spear for DeGray. Spear will do more damage. And we don't need the stamina from short bow. The fact that short bows generate hit and run in the hand is nice. But the constant shifting back and forth once we start running into the things in this coming area that do cripple is going to make him destroy himself. Just give me one moment, guys. Just getting messages that needed to be dealt with quick. As much as I would like the money or the level, we need that healing. I'm gonna take the party full heal here. Because otherwise this combat was likely to kill DeGray. I don't want to put a trap on any of these lines because I can't guarantee to move something. Go ahead and start with this axe, man. I can fish out his spear and I'll have the wolf use the spear. Should have roared first, but I'm a little distracted. Have Jorkson use a bit of blocking himself to make sure he's okay. Okay. Or not the one I want using Vanguard, because Vanguard does extra damage if the person using it's up front, so you need to have them up front when you use it. Okay, I have kick on hand, so we're going to place a trap and have you kick him in. Finally making that actually useful. Funny thing about Akimbo, by the way. Notice how it says if dual wielding attack twice more, it counts a shield as you dual wielding because they for some reason treat it as a weapon. Which is a good thing, don't get me wrong, in terms of an advantage for the player. It's just a little strange. But it does make logical sense because you could hit with your weapon and then hit with the shield, or vice versa. Like there, you noticed he hit 3 times. Now I'll have him use longsword. Go ahead and flurry on him. You use second wind. You use the strike. No, but you'll get extra damage on the rush on somebody else, and he's not gonna bleed out though. But the damage he'll do will be blocked, so go ahead and rush this guy. Get rid of your winded. Hit him. Nothing else I can goddamn do this turn, though. This turn's just gonna be kinda sad. And you'll notice since bleed ticks down that guardsman is sitting there at 1 health and being a pain in my ass. Which is why I wanted to get rid of him before, but I didn't want to waste the damage that I was gonna be doing with the other one. I was kind of stuck in a catch-22 there. Yeah, you use Wild Brawl, so everybody will still have 1 point left. It's a bit of a wage. He's gonna just hatchet him out so we don't take more damage from him. Now this will be fine. Go ahead and use momentum to discard toe-to-toe. Which I hate, but, you know. This way we can use the flail without ending up still discarding toe-to-toe. Because one way or the other we were losing that card. There we go, we get through another one without it being too bad. Take Calculating Strike because it gives you future card draw. It doesn't affect the turn it's used on, but it'll affect a bunch of turns afterwards. This is the spawn for intelligence that made me realize it is a really good one to grab. Is if I take it right now, it'll make the entire team gain a level. So we'll go ahead and take that. We need all the levels we can get, especially since the rabbit's behind the team by a level. I'm gonna have him gain 8 block a turn. That's gonna be really good. Not using his traps that much, so we'll go ahead and give him another stamina. Persecuted would be pretty good. But I think I'm gonna take Never Surrender to save lives. I'm not having you do that much, so I'm actually gonna give you more will for when we get you even heavier armor. I have not seen Fortress before, so we'll take Fortress. Though that does now immediately counter the very choice I just made. But we can work out his situation as far as his stamina goes soon. Now, I could take Blood Ritual, which does 3 damage for every stack of bleed on the character that's using it. Because it gives you 3 injury cards and 1 Blood Ritual. So in theory, you could use the 3 injuries to have 30 bleed on yourself, and then throw 30 damage at some. The problem is you're then stuck with that 30 bleed that's going to do damage to you. The thing I saw that makes this ability really actually effective is there is a passive trait that can show up called Unholy. It turns all bleed into healing. So you would then cause a bunch of bleed for yourself and become unkillable for a while. It's pretty stupid, but we're gonna fight them. Now you'll notice that they're gonna apply 8 bleed to themselves and apply 3 to us. That's because they're gonna be using cards that work around all of that. I was hoping to be able to actually kill him, but we're just short. But he's going to set himself up for failure, so that's kind of okay. And the mild amount of bleed that's getting put on us is not a huge issue. We can go ahead and Fortress up. That's going to make you basically unkillable. Have you activate toe-to-toe. It's a bit of a waste to use Vanguard this way, but I want that one gone and him to get his toe-to-toe bonus. Oh, but I've screwed myself. I've done gone and set myself up for failure here, because if I use momentum to make Rush do actual damage, I discard Rush. But we can use it to apply some bleed. So I'm gonna apply it to the next one down the line, which may bite us in the ass later. Depends on if they get the chance to use an ability that throws all that bleeding at us. Which I believe they do have. I usually have killed them fast enough that they don't get a chance to use it, though. But you'll notice my front line is building up a lot of block just fine. So they're holding up well. Ah, there we go. There's the... We throw a lot of my bleed at everybody. But we're gonna block it all straight up, so it's fine. Because as long as you use a heavy bear as your center, or for your team, they hold up pretty damn well. As you might expect, bears are pretty fucking durable. Have you move up and shoot. Because you're then gonna just use hit and run. Move back. Can't kill with Bloodlust, so just hit the other guy. And go ahead and give yourself some block with that, and you can have this block. Now he'll just bleed out and this fight is over. I like Heavy Blow, but with the state of stamina for this team so far, I'm going to take Challenge instead for the moment. His Challenge is also really useful. Yeah, see, that right there has the effect I was talking about. That armor gives you vitality based on all stacks of bleed on you. Problem is, it's armor that doesn't give you any shielding. So it's not great for somebody who's going to be up in the front rank, but it would work out pretty well for somebody in the back rank. But you do need to bear in mind that there are enemies that will attack over your front rank into the back rank, but they're not super common. So 4 bleed for 16 damage, essentially, is not bad, but I'm not going to take it. I don't need it. If I had one more character, I would take it and use them with it. But right now, what these 3 are doing all are pretty set for what I want right now. Aside from I could do with a new weapon for Cosworth. Either a S-Stock or a Exquisite Sword. The S-Stock would give him Retaliate, and the Exquisite Sword would give him more block when he attacks. Given everybody's health state, I'm gonna take the regular combat, not the elite combat. I could take a risk, but I'm not willing to take that risk right now. Go ahead and have you Fortress up. Roar at that guy. Stab that guy. Go ahead and lay a trap over there, because these guys love to run around. So they're going to inevitably throw themselves into that trap. Go ahead and never surrender for DeGray. So everybody's going for Cosworth right now. And there we go. See, he just runs straight into the trap, and next turn he dies. Which conveniently is immediately, because now that he's in the other rank, it switches to having that rank take a turn. So he's basically fucked himself. With a little help. Go ahead and have him use the guards in case they attack through. Just have you use your racial ability just so you get the extra block. Which his racial also kicks off Impervious since it's everything that gives him block. So this bear is even more impervious to damage than in the super bear I had when I realized how ridiculous bears were. So I had a run where a single bear made it to the end of the game. Everyone around him would always die, but he would just keep on trucking. The only real disadvantage this bear has compared to that one is he doesn't have Bloodthirsty, so his vitality isn't going up, so he's still very vulnerable to bleed. You should use a rush. I'm gonna have you red powder him, and we're just gonna tear him apart with rush. Was almost certainly overkill, but it's fine. There's only the one guy left. Okay, we're gonna have you use Flurry. And going to him with a hatchet. Then we'll have you use precision. Makes this do extra bleed damage, and then we'll just hit him with Bloodlust for sake of. I could have had the wolf do all the precision stuff, and if I had thought it through a little more, I would have done it in a different order, which led to that guy getting more bleed. But this is a non-issue fight, so it doesn't matter. I'll take a bag of pink powder to put vulnerability on things. Vulnerable and Overwhelm basically do the same thing, except Overwhelm stacks, and Vulnerable just lasts longer when it stacks. With the State of Experience for everybody, I'm going to just take the combat instead of taking the extra 15 block at the start of the next combat. We're also doing fine for block, so doesn't much matter. That knight is a concern, though. He starts combat with 100 block, and if his block is above 60, bleed doesn't affect him. It just turns into vulnerable. Which, don't get me wrong, him having more vulnerable is good, but there's problems with it. Let's see. You use longsword and calculating strike. And Wild Brawl. I could have momentumed Wild Brawl, but then I would have lost a card that would have done more damage. So I'd rather keep the effects of all those cards. See, this is why bleed's an issue. Cosworth's vitality is getting dangerous. With how much health that Ender Knight has, it's going to be hard to manage to kill him before Cosworth drops. We're actually going to have to prioritize doing that right now. Deep strike him, though, and get rid of him. Okay. So, if I can keep getting good turns like that, I should be able to crack through him. Though I fucked up and didn't use the roar. This is not a particularly good turn, but I can make it work. That is clocking through his health pretty good. And he can't get through Cosworth's armor. Oh, I keep forgetting. One of the other things that the bear's effect can get rid of is bleeding. Which is why bleeding's not that big an issue. But I have too many things to keep track of, so sometimes it slips. Use the flail. Rid of Fortress because we don't need it. Give him the block from Never Surrender instead. Because he gives the wolf back will. Over this turn. Cosworth's in danger at this point, but it is what it is. Ooh. Yes, please. Bear gets massive block, gives massive block to everybody. There we go. A quick round will put everybody back up by half, so that works itself out. We'll go ahead and fight to save the hair over here. We could ignore it and it would ruin 3 skills, but we can take care of this. This is going to be rough, but we can do this with this setup. Gotta help those who help us. That's how it works. I do have to wonder how they came up with this whole situation here. Like, why give animals an entire caste system and government and everything? Why this? Why is this a thing? Like, I have to assume that they're trying to talk about something without directly talking about it. I'm just not sure what exactly they're trying to hit. And there's also the small possibility the game was just made by furries. I don't know, but I feel like there's more to it than that, but maybe I'm just thinking too far on something that doesn't need to be thought that far about. Which would be business as usual, so there you go. Making all the misplays while I'm trying to figure out what the hell these people were on about. Or first. There we go. At least I didn't fuck it up that time. Only fucked it up every other time. I don't withdraw. This is actually one of the better teams I've had in terms of block. Because I've actually got 2 people maintaining a decently high amount of block, instead of one guy in the center with amazing block and everybody else perishing around him. And or relying on him giving them the block. Our damage output's a little questionable compared to what I would like, but I think we'll get there. So we are going to get into hardier and hardier fights, which are going to become a problem. Can't get rid of vulnerable to being another problem for bears. Well, we can at least do the trap kick combination. I don't know how I got kicked back that quickly. I guess it just happened to be pulled right back up again when the deck shuffled. Which is really just a hell of a coincidence. We ended up with two of the cards we just had. I don't know why I thought I could have used both of those somehow. Aside from just not really paying that much attention to what I'm doing. That said, he can use it himself. Because, you know, it's his goddamn spear anyway. This stream might end up being just a one-run wonder, though. Considering we had all that stuff breaking initially and all that stuff. And it's looking like this one's actually going to last a decent amount of time. Yeah, we'll go ahead and give you Bastion for when your partner up there inevitably dies. Or gets knocked around. I don't really care about any of these, but I'll take Flow because at least it's useful. And he has been using Never Surrender a bunch. Have anything that uses will, but you end up using other people's stuff a lot, so we'll go ahead and your will one more anyway. Next fight, the rabbit will gain a level. Bunch of money. I could gamble and get more money, or we can go get that level right now. Let's go get that level. Oh, ew. This... oof. This bunch is ugly. I know, let's get rid of this Seaguard Raider immediately. Let's see, how do I want to play this? I could put toe-to-toe on the bear and make him get to insane defense, like, immediately. But I'm betting there's gonna be at least one attack that gets through towards Jorkson, so I'm gonna give Jorkson the defense. Especially since they're the one who uses most of the attacks, right? Just about immediately got rid of that Sea Guard. Just about. I mean, it still ends up not completely ending that problem, but one little tap will deal with that problem. Of course, we draw protection when you don't actually have that much block, but we can do it the other way around. We can have the rabbit protect you instead. Did I read that wrong? Oh, yeah, no, I read that backwards. Oh, boy. I thought it was give his protection to those around him. Turns out it's gain the amount everybody else has. So I should have used it on the bear. I'm pretty sure I read it correctly when I had it and selected it in the first place, and then now I read it like an idiot. I know what I'm doing, I promise. Say as I make it so that I don't end up having any fortress. As you know, and Surprisingly, nobody in this party's died yet. I have somehow managed to keep them from dying. In spite of my inattention today. Yes, I can make this work. Use precision. And activate the ability to use somebody else's card. Up here to shoot him. Use hit and run to shoot him again and move back. I never surrenders armor to him because he's in front. And then we move on with the cards. Okay, so he'll bleed out on his next turn. I don't need to worry about him. Just about take him out immediately. That's what I was hoping for. Both of those. Stack up even more bleed on him. Then we're basically tapped on things we can do otherwise. Because we don't want to mirror the guy who has no block. That would be more than a bit silly. And this fight's over. A second copy of protection would be good. And now the rabbit gains love. Ooh, that would be nice, but I don't use traps enough. I'll take the foul wound instead. And that's what I mean by some of them carrying over, because I usually saw that on weasels. And apparently hares get foul wound as well. That's an extra nasty combat, so we're just gonna go around that right now. Considering our bear's in rough shape. Not that we're gonna be able to get away without fighting, but we at least got away from the worst combat. Well, supposedly we did. These salters are kind of a problem, but a problem I can deal with. And that right there is why the salters are a problem. Because they apply Salter's Net. What Salter's Net does is it absorbs damage until it runs out of whatever stacks are on the target. You lose 10 block and cannot move while that's active. You also deal no damage because it's absorbing all the damage you deal in order to try to get rid of the net. Joke's on them because those two up there aren't the ones doing any damage. The big problem is the fact that it's going to be absorbing their block. The other main thing salters do is they have a very bad tendency of applying a lot of injuries. Have you this? Use the longsword, hit the whole line. Then we'll use second wind, which drew the injury. That is not what I wanted. We'll have you also use the rabbit's spear so that the rabbit doesn't have to worry about getting out of the net to do it, and get rid of that salter as well. You see, those nets are a serious issue when your team is small. When you've got at least one back row person, they tend not to be able to get the nets on everybody. So you tend to be able to just sit here and have one character attack them all, while the other two just suck it up and sit in the net. We'll go ahead and take quick hands because I need more card draw with the amount of people I've got running around. We'll take the loot. Ooh, steadfast armor. That's actually perfect. You see, DeGray already has the steadfast trait, which will get him 8 block a turn. Now with the steadfast armor, he'll be gaining 16 armor a turn. Very quickly making his superior medium armor way outdated. I need to get better armor for Jorikson still, but for now it doesn't matter. I think if I click on this, I won't take the damage, and if I ignore it... No, this one's not got a timer on it. I think that one will go away on its own. Take the armory reserves. I'm gonna risk the elite combat, but it might get somebody killed. I'll give you the exquisite sword to get the extra block from it. The reason I gambled on this is we can get some really good stuff out of this, and we kinda did. Things like the survivalist gear that gives you 2 regen and 2 block generation a turn, for example. I could switch him off the spear to have him be double axe. The reason I haven't just immediately thrown the survivalist gear on Jorikson is I'm not sure that would actually be the correct choice for him. Because Jorikson's not been taking damage, so the regen won't do anything. What I'm thinking is I might want to shuffle the armor around a bit. Give the survivalist gear to either DeGray or Cosworth for the regen to start fixing their damaged health. Appreciated, Xeno. Hopefully you can sleep well. So the main reason I'm thinking about using the survivalist gear with Cosworth is the fact that he gets 5 more block every time he generates block. So he'd have the regen stacking up on top of getting the block plus extra. So it would immediately be more block than he's gaining every turn with the heavy armor. The problem is he doesn't have that starting block to keep him safe the first turn. I'm gonna try it, even though it's a risk. And I'm gonna actually put the soldier's heirloom. Actually, do I put the soldier's heirloom on anybody? Because it's 12 bolster, which ticks down every turn. It would probably end up better armor than what Jorikson's wearing, but the catch to that is I lose the 1 stamina. But Jorikson's already got 1 more stamina than everybody else anyway. I think it'll be good for blocking incidental damage. It just ends up making their setup look really weird because now the heaviest armored looking one is the one in the back. the other option is I put Steadfast on Osworth. Something like that. But then he doesn't have the Vitality generation anymore. But he is gaining 13 block a turn. I'm going to try with Survivalist gear first, because I need to get his health up. Thing is, it's going to be a risk with the elite fight we're getting into. I'm gonna keep the heavy armor in the stash in case I realize this is a mistake and I can survive to fix it. Though it does mean I don't have a bag of weapons for the wolf to swing around at people. Yeah, we'll go with this. Does mean I need to focus on having you block immediately, though. Because they are going to be gunning for you. Okay. That should take care of that, because that's 18, 28 coming at him. Calculating strike. We'll start with the Billman in the middle, since he's got the least health. Go ahead and use Bulwark on yourself. Because why not? And we'll go ahead and put the trap in the empty space in case somebody does shift around. The advantage is that regen counters any bleeding he gets. For when I forget to do the thing. Because inevitably I'm going to forget again. I never surrender to you. Makes Falchion free. Second win. Don't need foul wounds, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And we're gonna wild brawl the front rank, which disposes of the Billman on his next turn. And we'll start working on this bear over here. You toe-to-toe for when you can make use of that. And we're good. This is the problem I was expecting to have with a game like this. I end up sitting here thinking a lot and not really having much to say, because after a point, what do you say with this? You're just kind of flinging cards. I've explained the logic behind most of this stuff by now. Because you'll notice the front rank's holding just fine, and I'm steadily gaining health for the bear. Plus or minus the bleed that keeps knocking him back down a bit. Have you gain 100 block. So there's no way they're getting through these front rankers anymore. It's mostly just a matter of I need to get some more attack cards to start actually clearing these guys off the table. And the reason why I'm thinking about alternating who has the regeneration armor is because of this very situation DeGray's having right now, where he's losing health to bleed. This way, they both can keep their vitality up going forward. I may as well have you use protection now, too. Apparently, front doesn't count as adjacent? Interesting. Pretty sure that's not how that works, video game, but you're the one who makes the rules. Damn it. I thought I was gonna get Bloodlust off there in order to get card draw. Oh, another disposed of Billman. Keep chopping through. Could make use of that short bow. That probably will end the fight, so I may as well. Forward, deal 8. But he doesn't have the stamina to do it again, so that's actually a mistake. Oh well. With the armor he's wearing now, he doesn't need to worry about being up front. Oh no, they moved the tank. They shifted the tank bear. But they're dead. Well rested could be really good. Except I'm not using anything that gives me winded anymore. So instead I'll take reserves, because inevitably I'm going to have more people in the back. So... go ahead and see what the provisions are now that we get a lot of money. Rend. Absolutely rend. So, I gotta say, their little thing about may the road rise up to meet you really doesn't sound like they're actually hoping for my success. Is the first thing I think of when I hear the words, may the road rise up to meet you, is you falling to the road. That doesn't seem like a good thing. That really seems like, oh, I hope you die, which really doesn't seem like they're actually on my side at all. Like, I'm assuming it's kind of meant to be more like a meet in the middle thing, and your travel is easier. But, no, that doesn't come off as good as they might think it does. Is at least not to my ears. Do I need new weapons? Do I want new weapons? I want a new weapon, but the odds of me getting that weapon is not great. I'll just take the money from the drunks. On that note, let me quickly switch the armor between these two, so that he can start regenerating a bit. We'll go do this fight. My intent is to reach the end on this run. I make no promises about winning, because I have yet to win. Because the fight I keep dying on is a motherfucker. And you guys will get to see why when we get there. Because, boy, it is a doozy. Have you activate precision. And just hold that thought for me. Because any of the next attack effects will only be consumed when you actually make an attack. I can just have him hold on to that. And with 2 copies of protection, we can have our 2 blockers up here to keep feeding each other. Unfortunately, we're not quite gonna get what I wanted in order to be able to bust through. Wait, no. Flail hits life directly, so never mind, this is fine. This works out perfectly. Is then half of that flail hit still counts as additional bleed thanks to precision. I'll put a trap there in case I get kick. I don't have anything I can remove. Thing is, those nets coming in from the back are going to be a problem. Oh, hey, conveniently we get kick immediately. And he can still kick while in a net, so... that works out. Because the thing is, even losing 10 and block a turn, I'm pretty sure they aren't going to get through Cosworth anytime quick anyway. Because he loses 10 block and then gains 13 thanks to Steadfast and Impervious working together. And now that he's the only one on that rank, he's going to gain in 15 more. It's actually going to be 20 more. Or thanks to Impervious yet again. I'm going to have you use the Exquisite Sword plus charge to kill this guy. That's disposed of. Second wind. Hands. Vanguard's gonna be a problem right now because of the fact that it's just gonna get absorbed by the issue of the net. I do kind of want to get the a pair of weapons because he'll get 2 cards from Master at Arms at that point instead of 1. But the weapon damage on the spear is just so good. And the fact that it's just, you know, 1 stamina to stab somebody for 12 is also really solid. But since I have him being a front ranker, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get him like a pair of exquisite swords or a exquisite sword and an S-stock. Actually, no, this is perfect. What I do is give him all the injuries, and then I use the bear ability to get rid of all of that bleed that he got from that, and now he's almost a 200 block. Fuck you, game. What are you gonna do now? Yes, he's standing there in a net, but you can't do shit to him anyway. All you've done is make him stand there better. He is legit being paid there to stand. He's being paid to stand there, and you've just let his job be the same thing, no matter what you've done. The biggest problem we're gonna have is there are enemies that will shuffle my team around, and that's where this is all gonna start to come apart. Which is also why I didn't get rid of cards like Withdraw or anything this time around. Because I've usually discarded that at one of the Remove a Card events. I just didn't use it and it was consuming will without being particularly useful. but realizing that we need the ability to move around meant that that card stayed around. There we go, 239 block. I really wish I had Colossal Blow right about now, so I could just throw 200 at this little bastard and make him pudding. Will actually take running on fumes, because the moment I use it, because I'm gonna have the bear use it, we'll just get rid of the winded anyway. Now that the Gray's back at full health, we'll go ahead and swap the armor back around again. And we'll go ahead and hit up the Wishing Well. Take the random upgrade token. And get rid of a card from the deck. What am I not using? I'm leaning kind of toward Rush as a card to get rid of, but I do still use Rush because when I get charged, Rush is strong. I think I'm just going to get rid of another regular Strike to keep useful cards showing up. Now, a mechanic we haven't seen yet is you can get tokens that allow you to upgrade an individual card to be better than it is. In this particular case, we got a token that lets me have the effect apply 3 bleed get added to a card. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on one of the powders, is it'll apply to the entire rank it's hitting. So now that applies Overwhelm and Bleed, making for just an unpleasant effect. And we're going to go ahead and hire on a 4th person, because we can afford no matter who we pick here. You've got Fundamentalist and Practiced. I don't really want either of those right now. You do have good talents, though. Ooh, whenever they gain a status effect, gain 2 poison. I like that. And I like Arterial Rupture. I don't care for your passives that much. What do you got? Whenever you ruin a card, gain charge. Banished is instead discarded. Convert all ruins to a rend. I think I'll take the mouse. Mouse has the most useful talents and the least useless passives. They've got some kind of bleh passive setups in this line here. I'm gonna have to do some gear juggling, though. Getting the wrong menu options. Okay. So he doesn't need the heavy armor. But I also don't have anything to replace it with, because the only thing I have in my backpack is more heavy armor. That is a problem I hadn't considered, and I also don't have that good a weapon to replace that crossbow with. That crossbow's probably staying. Yeah, I think he's just stuck with that. I probably should have taken the wolf just for sake of the fact that the wolf had significantly better gear. Or for my purposes. Oh well. Too late to take it back now. The question is, do I swap the crossbow for the short bow? I could still use the crossbow in the bag with the wolf trait. And it would be more likely to be useful as a side weapon than as somebody's entire weapon. And he's got good enough armor that shuffling back and forth wouldn't be dangerous to them. Yeah, I think I will swap them. Yeah, I think that'll be a better idea for me. Because I already have somebody... I already have two people that can use weapon damage cards very well. With decent amounts of stamina. I think that's the practical way of going about it. What position are they in by default right now? Right there. That's fine. They'll be shimmying back and forth with the bow, so that's absolutely fine. I just wanted to make sure they had room to shimmy. Now we'll be fighting Blister, the captain of the Drum Guard. The Drum Guard being the big bullies around here of being the most durable guys. I will discard this guard in order to draw two. Now, of note, Bannerman needs to die in a fire immediately. Because every time you play a card, the first card of the round is banished. Which is really bad. But, you can kind of cheese it out a bit by using something that was going to banish anyway. It starts becoming a problem when you don't have something like that to get rid of. Do one more damage. Him. That makes Toxic Cascade free, so we're gonna put that on him to help get rid of him as well. That we are good. I'm gonna put a trap here in case somebody decides to move there. We don't need challenge. Now, the funky thing with something like Toxic Cascade is it doesn't choose between positive and negative status effects. If you get a buff, you will get poisoned as well. Case in point with him gaining bolster every turn, is that's how he works. He's going to poison himself every turn. Not that he's going to live long enough for it to be that big a deal, but it's just a fun thing. Give him a shitload of block. And give you a shitload. These two are no longer a concern. They will be fine. I probably should have had him use protection and then have the bear use fortress, but hindsight is 20/20. You will use precision later. First, use your Falchion. Cut through his block. Then use precision with the flail. So the flail would have gone through either way. But, and throw away the fortress now that, you know, we can't use it. I misplayed this one bad. So I also could have had the wolf steal Master at Arms to then draw the Falchion and the flail again. Hence, hindsight is 20/20. I'm still not used to being able to really, really abuse some of the mechanics of this game. Because there's some serious bullshit you can pull. And I've seen by looking through these cards and such, some of it. But I've never quite got all of it. We're just gonna get rid of his friends first. Deals with him. You go ahead and run on fumes. But that's fine because you just sort that out immediately. Because the thing is, I have to assume, based on the way that the last bit of this game ends up playing out, that they kind of expect you to really, really hardly abuse some combinations of cards. Not to mention the fact that that's just generally how card games end up playing, is you have to really, really stack on the nasty bullshit in order to get through. Regular block, because we don't need it. And don't get me wrong, at this point we're getting silly, but this isn't even the worst I've been in terms of having things get really weird. Now, his whole thing is anything that deals less than 5 damage doesn't hurt him, which is why I've been mostly ignoring him. But now that he's got a bunch of Vulnerable and Overwhelm on him, most everything will hurt him. Wait, no. I don't need to do that. You're holding the short. I got so used to having to have the wolf pull the short bow out of the bag to shoot somebody. We don't need to shuffle cards. This fight's over. That was definitely one of the easiest blister fights I've ever had. This setup is really getting places. The rabbit's still behind a level, but he'll be caught up in a moment. But we don't need to heal either, and the money would be kind of redundant. Because we already have like 1,000 florins. And there's not that much else left for us to buy that I'm gonna care about. They're not at max level yet. They've got room left to grow. Who do I think's gonna get the best talent card? I think it's a talent card next. Wait, no, yeah, it's talent card, then passive, so it should be another talent card coming up. Actually, there is a talent card I've been fishing for wolves, so I will go ahead and give the wolf the level. Damn it. That is... none of these are the one I was hoping for. I will take Strength of Will, though, at this point. I was fishing for one that would grant me copies of Bless. Bless giving you 10 charge when you use it. It was going to be disgusting. But unfortunately, we didn't get it. So... it didn't work out. I'm gonna give you another point of will, because 5 stamina seems to be working out pretty well for Jorikson. This hand will go ahead and get rid of Rush. Now, these guys are one of the first major hurdles when you get to this later area, because they have Spearman's Defense. Spearman's Defense, every turn they gain 2 Carapace. And Carapace, every time you take damage from a character, gain 5 Retaliate. So each hit of a multi-hit is going to keep stacking their Retaliate up and making them horrifying to deal with. So you need to be very careful how you hit them. First turn, they don't have that. So if you can one-turn kill any of them, you're in good shape. Unfortunately, we don't really have that too much. We do have enough to kill one of them. We did get rid of one, and I should have used the mouse's ability of gain 3 charge for every hit of a multi-hit in hindsight. And I probably could have done serious damage to another one instead of killing one. But we'll be fine. With the amount of block we're generating now, we can kind of tank some of the retaliate hits anyway. It's just not ideal. Go ahead and get rid of the regular guard. Use Fortress. Ground Shield. If degrade the round shield effect, the mouse will take protection and be brilliant shape. Now we'll go ahead and this guy with the spear. And I should have done it the other way around. And this is why I stacked so much block for the mouse, is so that he could take the retaliate hits without it being a problem. Now, things that don't deal direct health don't actually deal direct damage, won't trigger the retaliate. So things like the poison knives and anything that just does bleed and no damage are safe to use. I'm gonna go ahead and go ahead and have you use Strength of Will. Get rid of Solid Footing, go to toe, and get rid of the crossbow. This gives everybody else 6 charge. Running on fumes now costs nothing, so we'll use that. Get rid of the effect from it. Powder, which will use up the charge. Have him tank the damage. Exquisite Sword to kill him. Precision Flail. We'll put a bunch of bleed on him. Ooh, actually, no. Get rid of reserves. Even though it's going to give me card draw, what I can do is place a trap and kick him into the trap. The kick won't trigger the damage. Now, when you hit him with that, he dies. I always spend a lot of time doing math and calculating things out with those spearmen because they can do an incredible amount of damage to you if you're not careful. I spy another free level. The hare would be getting this level if he wasn't like 2 experience away from leveling. So we're gonna give the bear the level. Did not get what I was hoping for. We're gonna take Cornered, though, because I can combine Cornered with running on fumes to swing out a bunch of damage and then clear it. Don't you shake your head at me, bear. Don't you do it. I saw that. Ooh, I've not seen this Knight Errant event pop up. Let's see what that plays out as. Oh, okay. People were about to get into a fight, and this guy wipes them all out and is being polite. So I'm just gonna be nice. I would assume, given other choices I would have made earlier, other options would have come up, because your choices do actually matter in this game sometimes. We'll take Sweep Kick, because we have traps we can play that with. Oh, thank God, a weapon cache. Please let there be something useful in this. Rogue's attire is pretty nice. Soldier's heirloom's pretty good. In fact, I'm gonna give Rougher Smot the Soldier's heirloom and ditch this heavy armor. I'm gonna give the bear the S stock. You can have his old exquisite sword. And for now, take the heavy shield. So actually switch those shields. I want him to have 2 actual weapons, but for now that'll do. And we'll go ahead and put the bow in the stash for the wolf to use, because I don't need to keep any of these armors. I think that'll work. I would have liked to have the high spirits as well, but it's fine. Let's go get that level for that rabbit. Start getting him back into something useful. We don't need solid footing. Immediately use fortress. Okay, a trap back there. Kick him into the trap. It also gets him out of this turn, so I don't need to worry about him doing anything. Thing is, they start with a shitload of block, and every time they move, they gain block, so kicking them around is not going to be great, except for the fact that traps will go through their shield and straight to vitality. The annoying thing about clippers is they bounce around a lot, so if I sit a bunch of traps around, they're gonna have a bad time just by default. Go ahead and second wind for you. Calculating strike is you'll get 2 back. For surrender for him. Hurt yourself a little bit in case they reach over. Get you straight into vitality. I wish I had a weasel on the team since we have so much stamina laying around so that they could generate a bunch of knives to throw. But this setup is working out well. They're all on the same rank, so I can't sweep kick. Him. Power boost from Pincer. I fucked up though, because I can't use the Falchion now. I can kick this guy around, but all that would do is give him a benefit. No, fuck, I did it anyway. Good job, Brain. Way to just reflexively do something and not realize the results of it yet again. We don't need both copies of protection right now. So, first and foremost, flurry this guy, and we chop him up. So that disposes of him immediately. Assert arms to pull the spear. Now we'll strength the wills all this junk out of here. I should have used the mouse ability yet again, because I keep forgetting about that ability, because at this point, I've got a lot to manage with 4 different racial abilities on top of all the cards. it starts getting messy. Honestly, as you can see by the way these fights are going, more often than not, you don't need to worry about it. It's only when we get toward the very end, which we are approaching, are we gonna really need to start worrying about it. This will restore vitality. We'll go ahead and put that on Bloodlust, because Bloodlust is free for anybody to use. I tend to put the heal effects on cards that anyone can use so that they can heal on command whenever needed. We'll go ahead and get rid of Kick because they've got a full team. This is where we start running into trouble. Full teams of 6 enemies. This is where my messy management starts coming back to bite me in the ass. Thankfully, we are really powerful this time. So as you can see, I've managed to dispose of 2 of the spearmen turn 1. So we're not too bad off. I'm gonna put a trap here in case I can push that Swordmaster back into it. The Swordmaster's gonna be really nasty, though. He's got some scary attacks. Case in point, full rank bleed. Also attached to a pretty strong attack to begin with. Okay, so he's gonna bleed out. I need to get rid of that other spearman soonish. I think I'm better off focusing that Swordmaster down now. He's already done enough damage. He needs to go. Phantom, get rid of guard. Should have put that on him first. The big thing about having gotten rid of most of the spearmen is their main form of doing damage is attacking together. Without any other spearmen on the same rank with him, he can't actually do damage with one of his attacks. He still has a regular attack that does a good amount of damage, and he still needs to be killed before he uses that. But, you know, every little bit helps. Efficient way to kill him right now. Beat him with the spear. Hit him with the falchion and let him bleed out. So the Swordmaster is now also disposed of. Master at Arms to get the spear back again. Start working on a guardsman. Another trap down. If things start looking really messy and confusing, that is fully understandable, and I'm not that much better off on that one than any of you are. Even with knowing most of the mechanics, this starts just turning into mush after a bit. So I just kind of make do with what I got and cross my fingers and hope for success. He's got 12 charge now. Instead of letting him bleed out, I'm actually going to kill him with Bloodlust to get cards. I should have used protection first, though. I'm doing a lot out of order here, but it's fine. Most of these cards are his, so I'm going to have him get rid of those. All in all, this was not the most productive shuffle I did, but it's fine. I think I mostly just took a bunch of damage for no good reason, realistically, there. But it was fun. And in the end, fun is what matters. If we end up dying, oh well. Have no winded, so that's useless. Admittedly, a lot of this doesn't matter at this point. One guardsman against 3 very durable frontliners and a wolf who's just kind of chilling. You know, I kind of expected this to be a shorter stream when I was gonna do just one run. I'm now realizing at this rate, this one run's gonna be like 2.5 to 3 hours. Which, yeah, thing to note for anybody who plays this. Game goes kinda long. Because these fights take a fair bit of doing to get through. Especially once you get to this point where you're fighting 6 enemies at once. End up playing a whole hand into damn solitaire to get anything done. Is to put the scale into perspective, consider playing something like Slay the Spire with 6 characters worth of decks in play, more or less. And that's not too far off of how this ends up working out toward the end. Dual S-Stocks. It's tempted to have 2 S-Stocks for the bear at this point, since he tends to hold up just fine on the amount of block he's getting from his abilities. And instead he could have the potential of having 10 retaliate. Or I give that to somebody else and 2 people have retaliate. One thing I am going to do at this point, though, is I'm going to trade the weapons around a bit. I'm going to have DeGray have the Exquisite Sword and the S-Stock so that I can use Master of Arms to flip those back into his hand. It does mean we're losing the Round Shield, which can share blocking. But at this point, sharing 5 block is not going to save very many lives. It can save lives still, don't get me wrong. Considering we have a full front rank, I'm going to get rid of the short bow and keep the crossbow. Or do I be clever and have the round shield be in the box, and I can then use the wolf ability to spawn the shield if I really, really need it? Nah, we'll take the extra damage. Card. Yeah. And we'll give you an extra point of will. Ruffer's Mutt needs the health, so we'll go ahead and take the health. I'd rather everybody be at full. Go ahead and take 100 florins from me. I've never taken the thief event willingly, but at this point we may as well, because we have a shitload of money. Now we have to fight the halberdiers. And the halberdiers are kind of a problem. But I think with our setup now, they won't be too big an issue. We'll go ahead and get rid of Experience Strike. God damn it. Fine. They're a bunch of block. Have them Fortress up. There's nobody in the back, so Deep Strike's not going to be that valuable. Now, I don't have to discard 3, but I'm choosing to discard 3 to get the most out of that effect. Yeah, and that right there is the issue with the halberdiers, the fact that they pierce. They also have a move where they're going to be able to shuffle us around, which can be really annoying. Because if they move people around, they gain charge. It's any move that an opponent makes, which means anytime I move myself or they move me. But in Wild Brawl, as he gains charge for each one of the hits of the brawl. Second Wind. Do a charged strike. Go ahead and have you pull the warbow out of the bag. Do I want you to shoot him and kill him? Or do I want you to shoot someone else to start working them down? No, just kill him. Play it safe, kill him. I was thinking this whole long, bold play in my head that was going to be ridiculous, and in the end, shelved as impractical. Also, just look at how much spear there is relative to this mouse. That spear is like 3 of him tall. And let's not forget the fact that that sword is tiny in that bear's hand. Like, some of this stuff just looks ridiculous if you look at it too closely. Okay, there's a lot going on with this hand. It's gonna take a minute to sift through. We mastered arms to get the S-Stock and the Exquisite Sword back, so that the wolf can use them. As you see, every time he applies that bleed that he has from his passive, it's going to apply more poison thanks to the Toxic Cascade. Which is just ruining this guy's day. And now we use the mouse ability with Arterial Rupture to really fuck him up some more. And give the mouse a pile of power for dealing with the next halberdier. Now, if I had paid any attention to what I was doing and used Flurry or anything ahead of time, this guy would have been very dead. But it's fine. Because now we can use all of that power to fuck up the next guy. All in all, this setup is chewing through these guys so much better than most any other one I've had before. So I'm very happy that this ended up being the setup that ended up live. I've been playing a lot of this game. leading up to this. Because it's been my I have nothing better to do with part of my brain, so I will just have part of my brain work on this while I work on things or do things. There's been a lot of do damage to the party effects popping up. I don't appreciate that game. We'll go ahead and go to the black market and see if we get anything interesting. Go ahead and give me 3 tokens. Another Restore Vitality one. Excellent. We will go ahead and put that Vitality Restore on Invigorating Blow. +1 stamina cost, draw 3 is gonna be a thing I'm gonna want. I just need to figure out where I want it. It'll almost certainly be on something relatively cheap. I think I'm out of 0 costs, aside from momentum. But I don't really want momentum to cost anything. We'll just have reserves draw more cards. That'll be a nice safe choice. And there's... Ooh, actually I know exactly what to use the 3 charge on. We'll have Precision give us 3 charge as well to make it more effective. We could heal somebody with Sanctuary, but I think we're fine enough as we are. We're not super close to leveling, so we don't absolutely have to take this combat, so let's just move. Because we were guaranteed a combat here anyway. We'll take the nastier one in the hopes of getting something good. No, this isn't actually that bad. Drum guards aren't really much of an issue, and 2 halberdiers is nothing we haven't seen before. This could have been a lot worse. Oh, right, the bear has the S-stock question here. Just precision. Didn't get through as well as I thought that would. I calculated that one badly. Which is to say I didn't really calculate it at all. I just kind of threw it and hoped. Yikes. They really wanted the mouse dead for some reason. They are not a Disney fan. Not saying they weren't right to want the mouse gone, considering what he just did, but, you know. Okay. I like what I'm seeing here. Will. The heavy shield, the guard, and the crossbow. I can use the kick with the trap abilities. I wish kick had come up earlier so I could have used it with back thrust to really rip somebody down, but fine. First up, you use arterial rupture on him. Okay. I was curious about one specific thing with arterial rupture, specifically the fact that since each time he was hitting them, he was applying another stack of bleed, I was curious to see whether it was going to keep recurring infinitely. Is in theory, it could, but it's based on how many stacks they have when you select them, not how many stacks they have on them during damage calculation. Which is how it should be, because the other way around would have been horrendously broken. Not that it being horrendously broken wouldn't have been very funny. Go ahead and set a trap for you, and then kick you into it. And you have enough charge. Do an invigorating blow for enough damage. So we'll go ahead and give you the regen from that, and protection from the bear. Thing. Master at Arms to get your cards up. That he can use the Exquisite Sword. Hands. Quick Rend to even further push this. And we are out of tricks up my sleeve at this point, though. Is that the main dangerous thing about drum guards is that shockwave effect you just saw hit the armor on everybody there. But since we have armor on everyone, shockwave's not super threatening. And there we go. We'll go ahead and take Pierce for a free vitality shot. We'll go ahead and take a Warbow. No, we won't. Because Warbows are 3 stamina, and that's a gamble and a half to try to use 2 of. The crossbow will be more likely to be able to be woven into something the wolf's already doing. We'll go ahead and go to the League and hire yet another character. Now, the League's interesting in that you can actually pick a weapon into talents, of course, from sets of choices, rather than straight up you can have anything you want. Or you can spend the lower price and just pick one of 2 people. I'm gonna just take the one of 2 and not worry about it too much. You've got a crossbow, improvise, and sleight of hand, as well as poisoning people every time you do something. You've got a knife and a shield. When you have no block, you... Oh, ew! I like that, but that's dangerous to play with at this point. I like what that beaver's got, but I'm gonna take the wolf so I have a second one who can use other people's equipment. We're gonna go into that armory reserve in a moment, but let me just do a gear check. You've got the Scoundrel Cloak, which protects you against 1 hit. That'll probably be fine for now, and you've only got a crossbow. But I don't have anything that much better to give you unless I give you the Warbow. Which either you or the other one could use it if it's in the bag anyway. And you're already in the back rank, which is where I want you to be, so we're good. Let's see if we can snag ourselves some good stuff. Not so much. Not so much at all. Second survivalist gear is nice, though. We'll go ahead and put Reference Mod in the other survivalist gear. Question becomes, do I want that greatsword? It's not the long sword that does 8 damage to the rank, it's a greatsword that does 12 damage to the whole rank. So I'm thinking yes. I'm thinking I give that to Ruffer's Mott, so that when I give him a bunch of charge, he can sweep the rank, and I give Redmond the spear. I'm liking that idea. The only problem is Ruffer's Mott is in danger right now. Ruffer's Mott could just die, which is going to be an issue. The other option is I bring him to the back rank and have 3 back, 2 front. But I, of course, can't do that for this fight. So we'll see how this fight plays out and figure that out from there. I'm gonna give you toe-to-toe so you can protect yourself. Throw at that guy. Special. Rush him. Have you borrowed the S-Stock to put bleed on him? So we can arterial rupture him. Have you gain protection from your partners. And you can go ahead and hit him with the experience strike. Go ahead and discard withdraw. We don't really need to shuffle our current layout. Our current layout's fine. And use the mouse ability again. Red powder. Hit them all first. Make them all nice and overwhelmed, and then hit them all with the big sword. Just splash right through them. We'll do an enhanced heavy blow against you. Bulwark for your... Doing a savage cleave across the front. Of course, use Fortress. Guard with a regular guard. Then poison him. You may as well Bulwark up for yourself for free. There's no reason not to. The reason why I'm not bothering to put block on Redmond much is Redmond takes 1 hit for free. Thanks to anticipation from the armor they're wearing. But as you can see, a bunch of the others are not so lucky. And have you use reserves to get some extra cards in. And a full... with this, because that'll put you down enough for the bleed to kill you. Alcyon for you. Drop steel. Should have wild brawled before I used up all the stamina. I'm doing things in the wrong order. Trap down. And kick him into the trap. It also burns their turn. And now Deep Strike works on them, so we just destroy them. There we go. We take a bit of shockwave damage. Because I forgot that since I moved him, he's not actually going to take the bleeding damage yet anyway. Ironically enough, my play is getting sloppier as we're getting into the harder stuff. could take well rested to play into the running on fumes and give me a combination that lets me give people regeneration, but the odds of both cards coming up together is low enough that I don't like it. I'm not going to take any of those. I don't need them. But you'll notice we are getting to the point where we are frequently losing a lot of health. This is where my fights usually start falling apart. We'll go ahead and take this chance to heal somebody back to full. Ruffer's Mott didn't take any damage last time, so we'll go ahead and heal DeGray back to full. Well, not full, but more. Is we are running out of cards in the Noble Quarter, which means we're almost at at least the final battle I've gotten to. I'm assuming the Warden is the final battle, given how difficult it is, but it easily could be that there's more. I don't know. I'm gonna keep some stamina on you in case a good card comes up for you. Have you deep strike him. Now we'll run on fumes. Okay. Was right to preserve some stamina. If I can get enough speed going. Or I could Toxic Cascade. No, I could do both. I can do both. I just can't do both very well. Now, what I'm actually going to do is have him do protection to keep himself safe. And then never surrender for him and all that. So I can have him do Arterial Rupture after we see what this card is. Okay, that's going to work, actually. So we stack a bunch of bleed that way. We rend for more bleed and some vulnerability. And we have him Arterial Rupture. I would have rather stack extra bleed with Jorgensen, but it's fine. And nobody needs to challenge anything here, really. It doesn't amount to enough to be worth the effort. Those Halberdiers are going to kill Jorgensen if I don't pay attention to that. And losing him would be really bad. Since he is one of the primary sources I have for damage at this point. These guys will swap people around. Problematic. But have you use a warbow shot against him. It does a pile of damage for us. You pull up your cards. Problem is, he never has enough stamina to pull up the cards and then use them. One Patterfoot disposed of, and one Halberdier is going to bleed out. And solid footing. I should have had him use protection first and then solid footing. You may as well use the protection instead then. See, now I'm starting to run into stamina problems. Because I started putting too many points in will since I wasn't needing the stamina. We'll go ahead and discard one of the injuries. And then we're gonna have the bear use the injuries, because he can just consume the bleeding to sort out his blocking better. Powder. Stock. Experience strike. Sharpen steel. Okay, he's going for a cleave, so we're safe at the moment. I was worried he was going for another piercing attack, and if he went for the pierce, he was going to probably kill Jorgson. But we're fine. Go ahead and have you gain a little bit of block. Prep your charge for next turn, because I'm inevitably going to forget. I could have Redmond Fortress for fun, but no. I'll go ahead and have him use toe-to-toe just so the card's not wasted. Okay. Not what I was hoping for. That on him to make him vulnerable. Well, brawl him. Put him up pretty good. Stand him. That. Discard the foul wound. And use the crossbow. And now we can kill him in style. Kick him onto a trap. Deadly Throw will be useful sometimes. I'll take that. We need that Sanctuary. Now, ordinarily you'd have to bully the healer, but since we have somebody actually in legitimate danger, he's willing to work with us, so we can get Jorgson back to full health. Which is good, because I don't enjoy bullying the healers that are trying to save all these people that are caught up in this disaster. And of course now we get a heal party option. Well, I may as well. Have everybody be at full strength, because we're about to go into the only fight I have yet to find a way to win. The Warden and his gold cloaks. This fight is serious. It is 6 enemies, a bannerman, 2 halberdiers, 2 knights, and the Warden himself with his 200 health and 100 block. This is gonna take some doing. And I don't think I can do it with this setup. Which should tell you all you need to know, considering how much I've been praising this setup we've had with dealing with other things. Because, you see, there's a lot of shenanigans the Warden can pull off. For example, whenever this character takes more than 25 damage from a single attack, it's ignored and converted into more block for it. Whenever he moves to a new rank, that rank gains 5 charge, and where he left, gains 15 block. He has the same magnificent plate that the knights do, so he starts with 100 block straight up and can't be bled. He's got moves that'll let him move around. If your opponent has adjacent allies, he applies 7 Winded, which means he can basically shut down a rank every time he attacks. And that's just him himself. His allies are just as bad. Like the knights that prevent us from getting over 120 block on ourselves, which means they can outblock us pretty much across the board. The halberdiers with their piercing damage, and of course the bannerman, who I have to get rid of quickly to prevent him from just banishing my whole damn deck. Not to mention the fact that he gains shielding from charge, which charge is going to get passed around like candy on this team back here. Needless to say, rough fight. Very rough fight. Who has improvised? You have improvised. I'm gonna use that mostly just as a dummy card to get rid of the banish for the turn, but we will use it to pull the greatsword to the top. That's gonna be useful. Now we akimbo against the bannerman. Fire the warbow at him. You go after him with Vanguard. You use protection. Doesn't matter who hits him with this, just so long as somebody hits him. This was not a good hand to open this with because we couldn't get rid of the bannerman. Because you'll notice now the warden has flipped positions with the bannerman, giving all of his men nice benefits. And you'll notice the bear has 0 stamina. That's because he just got shut down completely. Which is a serious issue for the way he's set up right now. Use mouse power. Wild Brawl. Because we have 2 Wild Brawls, so I don't care about that getting deleted. Now he sweeps through them. I could have used Momentum to make the Greatsword even stronger, but I wanted to keep the cards we have. Because I want to poison the Warden. That's going to be useful later. As a bed hedge, I'm actually going to have Jorix in Fortress. Then he'll Flurry. Oh, fuck. Nobody has enough to heavy blow now, though. Oh. Yes. He'll die to bleeding. So the Bannerman is no longer an issue, necessarily. And momentum away the heavy blow. We're still in a very bad position. Somebody's probably gonna die here. Surprisingly not. They were shockingly kind with how they laid out their attacks this time. I'm so used to them just bodying somebody immediately. But then again, I have better spread out block than I usually do. Oh fuck, they moved Jorikson, which made him pacifist for the turn though, so he's not gonna be able to fight. That's okay. We can work with that. We'll go ahead and let them banish Second Wind. Red powder away. Back here. Card draw from the reserves. We need to start clearing some of these halberdiers, or they're gonna rip everybody apart. This is gonna be the slowest fight out of all of these that we've done, because I'm gonna have to sit here and do a lot of calculation if I hope to win this. And I'm still going to drop the ball at some point, probably. There's just so much shit coming at us. You. Thankfully, we can use challenge to our advantage here. Steal 100 block for Ruffer's Mott to keep him safe. One hit is going to be blocked by Redmond automatically, so I don't need to worry as much about him. Dorkson's a dead character right now because he can't do his job. You can go ahead and solid footing. And that is unfortunately the extent of what we can do right now. Bannerman's gonna die before he gets to do his thing. I don't have to worry about that. We just have to watch out for those two bludgeons coming out, which is all taken on the block that got Jorkson pacified, so it's not the worst thing. Now would have been a good time for Withdraw to show up, actually. And it still didn't. Okay. It's okay. We can still work with this. Everything is fine. I can still wiggle my way out of this situation. Unless Halberdier. This is already better than I've ever had this fight go, by the way. Usually I get here a little kind of ragged from everything before it, and half the team gets wiped on the first turn or two. So we never actually end up killing more than the Bannerman. So having killed 2 enemies is already a massive improvement for me. How you use your power? Rush him. Because it also lowers the charge that the Halberdier has. Then throw all that power into Strike. I'll have you run on fumes to get us more cards. And use your power to get rid of that problem. Spear. You can go ahead and strike. No. If you use the strike as well, so that we can get the bleed. He's disposed of, he'll die. Basically, I'm gonna save the Warden for last, I think. Because a fight like this kind of has to be approached like a puzzle. That won't do anything. Managed to knock him under the threshold, so he won't have the power to avoid that. I will lay traps for the commander though, because he'll be bouncing back and forth. He'll just run into the traps. I wish I could shuffle people around to where I want them to be, but I can't. Yeah, and that's what makes him scary, is he has a team-wide attack. Oh. I didn't know he could do that. Yikes. Yikes. Okay, he can move at different angles. Okay. And he fucked our stamina really badly. Damn it. This fight's smarter than I thought it was. That does at least prove to me that I was right in my thinking that I need to get rid of his allies first. Because as long as he's got allies, he's got workarounds for just about every goddamn thing I try to do. Strength of will, since we're not going to be able to use half these cards anymore. Nobody has the stamina to use them. The S-Stock's also now free to use. No, you're the only one without power boost, so I want you to use it. That kills him, gives me the ability to use Sharpened Steel on him. Go ahead and withdraw Jorkson, so that Cosworth can go to the front again. Okay. We might actually be able to still pull this out. It depends on what he starts doing once his allies are gone. If he starts pulling super high damage attacks, it's gonna be a problem. You know, I really wish I didn't call that. I called that, but I'm really unhappy that I did. Because I was worried he was gonna start doing something disgusting now that he was getting in danger. We just need to destroy his block so he doesn't destroy us with that. Because the thing is, it was very suspicious that he was swapping block with one of his allies and then buffing. It really had all the hallmarks of he was about to do I'm going to fuck your life attack. And lo and behold, outcoming the I'm going to fuck up your life attack. So, need to do a lot of juggling to get rid of the last of that block. Okay, this is fine. Rid of the heavy shield, because he's not actually going to do any damage now, so it doesn't matter. Draw 3 cards. Go ahead and get rid of that. And then we can use Running on Fumes to draw more cards. Aha, I bet you thought I was done. I am far from done. I have more bullshit. I have plenty more bullshit where that came from. Welcome to the endless bullshit stockpile, where I can keep pulling more bullshit out of thin air. Well, I'll be damned. He can bleed. He can be killed. We might actually have a full party survive the entire... I can't believe this. From a day where everything is breaking to finally beating a game I've been spending days getting stuck with. It's a hell of a thing. Okay, I do have to kill his ally. That's what I was expecting. Still, the fact that it's just a knight now means this fight's over. Because compared to that commander, this guy's just a clown. But clowns are not to be trifled with. So he will still be taken seriously. So he is now a poisoned clown who's bleeding from many, many places, so... Probably not as big a problem, especially since he didn't get to have a turn. precision. Heavy blow. Degrading strike. And flurry. And there we go! It's over. After so many tries, after so many deaths, looks like it's over. Ending death count, 0. None of our men died. Score of 800 is not as much as I was expecting for winning the game, but okay, game. For context, my losing runs getting up to this point were usually in the 350 range, so double is a good amount more. But for how much that takes, I feel like I should have gotten more than that. And we unlocked hair as a result of that. Got Tier 9 bear. Tier 8 wolf. Okay. Tier 3 hare straight away. Ooh. That would have been fantastic. Oh, I unlocked new enemies. And now, of course, you can add difficulty modifiers, as is tradition for this kind of game. Yeah, the only species not represented on this team were weasels and beavers. We almost had everyone represented. That would have also been a hell of a thing. But that will definitely do it for today. 3 hours and having beaten another game. Yeah, no. I will count that as a win. And we will go ahead and go raid Spanky. He's playing some Oblivion, probably doing some wacky challenge again. Thank you all for putting up with the issues today and hanging along for this. This worked out so much better than I could have expected this to. With the way that was breaking at first, I really thought I was going to end up binning this before I even got anywhere today. So, I wish I could say better how I feel about that one, but point being, thank you. And let's go see what he's doing.
It's 12 in the afternoon.
What do you...
Whoa! Dracoma! What a party of 4! Thank you, Dracoma. Who's it here for?
He's an interesting fellow.
How are you doing, son? How's your stream? Have a shout out. Both. How's it going? It's going alright, thanks, mate. It's going alright. How was your stream? Banners of Ruin. I have not heard of Banners of Ruin. What's that like? Oh, yeah, I've got to remember to swap my quests over because it didn't do it.
Foresee me when you